is the Ridiculously Amazing Insurance Agent Podcast, hosted by me, Kelly Donahue-Piro. This show is for growing insurance agencies looking to maximize their biggest investment, their people. Listen to the top agency performance partners clients share their story on how they boosted their performance by executing a plan. Let's head to the show. Hi, everyone. Kelly Donahue-Piro here. So glad that I get to join you for another podcast with one of my favorite people in the insurance space, the one and only Pam Wells. She's another agency that was nationwide that took the plunge to coming independent this past year. And she has an entire team of powerful women working for her. There are two men. One of them is her husband. One of them is her marketing director. But we really dive deep into her theme for this year, which is accountability. And I love the power of that, of saying, hey, last year was this wild card of COVID. And this year, even though we're still fighting some things, we need to hold ourselves accountable to hitting our goals and running the business the way it needs to be run. So I think you're going to really enjoy Pam. She's from Memphis, Tennessee. If you haven't met her, definitely check her out. But she talks about the investment that she's making in each and every person, and that makes a huge difference. So I'm going to stop talking, and let's join us over here as we talk to Pam from Lofton Wells Insurance.
Well, hello, listeners of the Ridiculously Amazing Agent Podcast. I am so excited to have the wonderful Miss Pamela Wells. I don't think I've ever called you Pamela. Does anyone call you Pamela?
They call me Pamela nowadays.
Pamela.
Pamela. Yeah, so.
Well, for those of you who don't know Pam Wells, she is a recently converted nationwide agent to independent in the wonderful city of Memphis, Tennessee, home of Elvis. And she has just such a cool story. So I'm so excited that we could make it work. I know we only rescheduled this like 3 times based on schedules and everything else. So Pam, so excited to see you today.
Oh, same here. Love talking to you.
So let's start off by hearing the Pam Wells story, because I know I've gotten to meet your dad, and I think you have just kind of a really great story of, you know, and even going into, hey, like nationwide, now you're independent. Just give us the whole rundown. How did you get into insurance and what brought you here today?
Well, that's a fun story. So, you know, me and my dad have always been close, and I always wanted to be like my dad. Until, you know, of course, you know, my younger years, then I didn't want to be in insurance, but apparently, you know, eventually I got smart. But so my dad started the agency with his policy, one policy, and it was out of our living room. So for about 3 years, it was in our house. Him and my mom, you know, worked the agency, and it was really cool. You know, we had phones ringing, and it was back in the day when there was no computers. So you had all this onion paper, and they were manually, you know, rating policies. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine the stuff they had. Everything was paper. And so I went and, you know, tried out the world, different positions and jobs, and learned a lot of stuff. And when I got married and I was pregnant with our first daughter, my dad came. He said, you know what, I'm ready. I think you should come and, you know, work with us. And so I did. And I've loved every minute of it, brought a lot of things that I learned from the other industries to the table. And it really had opened us up to a lot of technology and processes that weren't into play. And that's when I can still remember, this is really sad, it shows my age. I can remember when we first got email. Remember that little baby going around doing that? You know, everybody was getting that. And then the cow.
Or do you remember in Microsoft Word, the paper clip, the Clippy? That like would be in the corner and you could ask the paperclip questions. I remember that too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then there was like some joke that it was like the CIA was looking for you. They had found you. They're coming after you. And then you get down to the bottom and it was a picture of a monkey or something.
Or that you must forward this to 50 of your friends, otherwise you're going to have bad luck forever.
Yes. And then today, everything is on the internet. So it's hard to believe we've changed.
Right.
I can even remember, I used to work for Nationwide right after high school. When I was in college, I was working for Nationwide Corporate. I was doing key punch back then. And then the funny part is I never saw a fax machine until I walked over to the claims department, and they were like, we're faxing over here. And I go, yeah, what's a fax? I mean, it's just amazing how fast we've turned over. So anywho, enough of the technology stuff. So anyway, I joined my dad, and so I started my own agency within his agency, which was really great. He gave me a great opportunity. So I became my own agent. And we shared locations, shared employees, and we turned out to be a really, big agency. We had about 10 employees, and we were the affinity part with credit unions and stuff. So that's how Dad, built his industry. But I can still remember the day when Nationwide announced that, hey, we're going to cut you loose. We're going to let you kids get out. We're going to quit coddling you and let you venture into the world of independence. And as soon as I did that, man, I hopped on the Facebook and learned different organizations and learned a plethora of information. And it was the best thing Nationwide could have done. I am so excited about this opportunity. And you were my superstar.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Yes, I found out about you on IAOA, and so I would go out and watch Kelly, and then I hired her, and she's really helped us grow. So, but
I still remember you like mauling me down at IAOA, and it was like, it's you. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Take a picture.
And it's been like that ever since.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's so cool. And now your dad's retired, right? So he gets to do his own thing a little bit.
Yes. Dad's retired. He's really enjoying it. Now, I did live out a major part here. So sometimes I wonder, how I do it, because everybody's like, how do you do it? I worked with my dad. My husband joined the agency. The dogs were in the agency.
Your daughter in there too?
My daughter's in the agency. So we make it work. It's definitely interesting. There are days that, Michael's in one room and I'm in the other. So, but it's a great
I have said this to you. I've said this to you many times. Like I have immense heart for people who can work with their husbands. I love my husband, but let me tell you, we do not work well together. I'm way too type A. He's way too laid back. And it's just like, you're driving me nuts.
That's where you get him a work wife. That's what we have, a work wife.
That's perfect. This is perfect. So obviously the big changes, and, I know for a lot of Nationwide agents, like, you take it with stride, but you get such a great attitude. And the podcast that we just recently released with Emily Gerber-Poe in Ohio, she's a Nationwide agent that went independent too. And so why don't you just tell everybody, like, hey man, like, what are the big differences? Because on the independent side, everyone's like, oh, the captive side, it seems so easy. Like, where do you see the biggest differences between being captive and independent?
Well, the easiest way I can explain this, it's kind of like your parents kicking you out of the house and you're learning how to be an adult and you're no longer on the playground. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. And even though they told you that they would give you a lot of guidance, they're not going to spoon feed you. You literally have to take on that responsibility yourself, and you're going to be successful as much as you put into it. So, and what's really bad, the industry has changed so much. It's not just about being independent. It's about technology. It's like staying up with everything. Are you doing everything that the customer wants you to be able to communicate? And I don't know if it's stuff that I was not privy to at the time, or I came in when it just blossomed with all these different vendors, different technology. Now
True.
I'm seeing where, companies are coming in and they're, pulling all the, integrating together. But with captives, we were coddled. We paid for that. Nationwide paid for everything. Our Office 365, our cyber, protection with IT. We actually, our cost increased tremendously. Sure. And it is a hard challenge when you're used to being spoon fed. It really and truly is.
But I think it's like there's a more cost, but now you have all the freedom, right? Like with Nationwide, you couldn't do some of that stuff. They weren't really in support of some of the things that I think, well, I know that you felt like, I need this to be successful. Like I need this to grow my agency. And so now the hardest part is you get to do anything you want.
Yes. Well, and I think too, it has a lot to do with their technology. Nationwide's kind of was behind the times, and they would try to put a Band-Aid on it, and we would, it looked like we got a new system, but really and truly it was something on top of the problem, So, but us having a management system that we can control and we can manage it the way we want it to, and we can choose which one, that was the biggest highlight right there. So we didn't have to use what Nationwide uses. And
awesome.
And we're not having to abide by their rules. But the bad thing is those are rules we have to create and control. So that opens up a whole nother can of worms. So I think, I was started 2 years ago trying to start down the independent path. I still have a ways to go. It's a constant changing. I think that's what makes insurance so much fun.
It does. So where do you see this insurance space going, right? So there's all these things. There's the people who are like super insure tech, and then there's people say personal lines is going to be dead, and then there's people who think like cars are going to get so safe that there's auto insurance is like nothing, and it's crazy that we'd be doing these things. Like, where do you see kind of insurance going in your area? Because I really feel like that outlook varies depending on where you are in America.
I agree with you because every, California, of course, is way ahead of us. Here in Tennessee, we're not going to have that so much, and especially in Memphis. I always call us the redheaded stepchild in Tennessee, but we are an amazing city. But we don't get highlighted near as much as Nashville. You can't tell I'm competitive, can you? But I think it's going to take longer than what they think. Just like we were talking a minute ago, trying to get our iPods to work. Technology is great, but there's so many kinks there. I don't want it driving my car, and it's going to have some issues. But I think people are starting, especially after the pandemic. And I think we're wanting to have, and especially after the snowstorm we just had, because, Memphis was shut down for a whole week. We didn't even get mail. Paul Revere is so upset. But that was completely out of our control. Didn't have stuff at the grocery and things. So I think that we're going to probably, after all of this, I think we're starting, hopefully our society is starting to look back. You know what? I think we need to go back to our basics. I just don't think it's going to go as well because everybody has a different way they want to do business. And when people go online to go purchase a policy, that's like me going to get a mortgage on my own. I don't know all the ins and outs. That's what the mortgage people are there for. They understand it. Let me do the insurance for you. And I think we're not just selling you a policy. We're your trusted advisor. Our goal is to make sure you're financially stable. You go buy it online, you're just going to buy whatever and you're going to buy the cheapest. But that's where we come in.
Right. No, I think it's a good point. Like, I know, I do think that the agencies that aren't staying competitive, like before we got on, we're talking about, agencies that don't have a management system or agencies that aren't training their team. They don't have voice over IP. They don't have e-signature. Like those agencies are really going to have a hard go at it, right? But the agents that are investing in that, I think that they'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. I think the hardest place to be an agent is like a very small agency that has been in business for 20, 30 years, and they've stayed small, mainly because they just couldn't figure out how to grow. And I feel like those are the people that are going to have the rockiest road.
I agree with you. I mean, if they're still on paper, you know, I think that's what we were talking before is paper. If you're not paperless, you're definitely, you're really behind the times. And that's something that, you know, if you're not already, it's okay, you know, because technology gets away from us, but you know, it's something to really look at is start looking at the technology out there. It might cost you in the long run, you know, in the short run, but in the long run, it's probably going to save you a lot of money and free up a lot of time for your staff to do what you want them to do.
I totally agree with that. So what are some of the things that this year, because we were just catching up on this, like, where is Lofton Wells going this year? Like, what are your initiatives? Because if I know anything about Pam, Pam is amazing. She has so many great ideas, and she's really great at getting them out and executing them. And it's almost like you have the mentality of like, we can't get too bored, right? Like, and you and I are the same way. Love change, love keeping it fresh. And so what are some of the things on your mind this year that you're like, hey, Lofton Wells, this is what we're about this year? Because, you know, last year was so hard, and that's another thing we were just talking about. You have a lot of working moms on your team, lots of, you know, Memphis had some racial tension going on in it during the course of the year. So like last year was just like this one year, like we feel like we all got kicked in the gut. And, but I know Pam loves to turn a good corner and be like, new year, let's just go do it. So what did you learn from last year? I guess this is my question. What did you learn from last year, and what are you focused on this year to just keep moving forward?
Well, you know, first thing, you can't let life get you down. You know, there's always a positive and a negative. You just got to find it. And, you know, life is nothing but a bunch of lessons. And, you know, last year, I think we learned, you know, that was a wild lesson that we learned. And we had to learn to adapt. And if you can't adapt in this society that we're in now that moves so quickly, I mean, what's in tomorrow will be out by next week. It's really hard to believe. It's so fast. But, you know, for this year, mine is really working on acquisitions, you know, bringing in people that have the same culture as us, because, you know, things are so different now. It's really important that we pull together our resources. And, you know, there might be some people that are stronger in some attributes than me, and I would love to partner with them so we can really grow a great business. Because there is so much opportunity. We're constantly looking at too is how can we connect with the customers to let them know that we're a trusted advisor. We're not that boring insurance person that comes with the glasses and the little thing. You know, back in the day, that's how they looked, with a little pin protector. Yes, my dad did have a pin protector. He did.
The key is, does he still have a pen protector?
Oh no. You would not believe how many shirts he's messed up. Putting that little felt pin in there. But
Christmas gifts for him.
Yes, lots of Christmas gifts. But you know, and a lot of it too is you know, I thank you so much for that compliment that I have some great ideas. You know, part of my challenge is I do have a lot of great ideas and I want to do them all. It was kind of like when I went to AOA. I was like a kid in a candy shop. I wanted to buy everything. I wanted to implement everything. Well, you can't do that. You have to sit back. You know, yes, you want to go ahead and sign that contract now. It looks great, blah, blah, blah. You have to sit back and really think about it. And that's one thing I've had to really, okay, I'm not going to make a decision for 2 weeks, because guess what? In that 2 weeks, something else could have came out better and cheaper and all that. So you really got to do your homework. So that's one thing I'm trying to do, is all my homework. But then too, one thing I've been really bad about with my team is accountability. Accountability is really, really huge. You know, they're used to me going, you know what, Pam's not going to keep with that. Don't worry about it. She'll forget about it by tomorrow. So I've had to implement some little, put them on my calendar, keeping myself accountable as well as theirs. And I've really seen an improvement in the atmosphere in the office.
So one of the things that's always driven me nuts about being in the insurance space was that ever since I was 18, I heard the same thing. I'm so busy. And in over 20 years, no one's been able to solve that problem until now. I'm going to help your agency move from busy to productive and find more time in your day to reduce stress and improve your client's experience. Because you see your team running around all day and they seem stressed and overwhelmed. Every day for years, you've been hearing how busy people are, just like I was. But the phone records and activities tell a different story some days. You aren't sure what to do. You don't want your team feeling this way, right? What almost no agency understands is how to move their team from busy to productive and find minutes that add up to hours in their day. It's not just focusing on more people, it's making the people you have more productive. This can all happen when your agency has a plan to manage time and training with the right approach. So if you're tired of hearing how busy everyone is, but no one seems to have a plan except to hire more people, do you ask how you can help your team and they just give you that stare? I don't know, I'm just so busy. Your agency needs a different approach that engages the team and gives them a clear plan with expectations. This helps the agency embrace a time management strategy that simplifies everything, empowers everyone to succeed. This, of course, changes everything. So if you're sitting at team meetings with more questions than answers, and you're excited to bring new ideas to the agency, but it's always met with resistance, and the team is always saying how busy they are, but no one has a plan, including you, the leader, you may have something on your mind. And that's what we did. We had something on our mind and we created Apex Time Management. Apex Time Management is actually a 6-month program that I personally install into agencies, but it was time for a remodel. And part of that remodel is we're going to be selling it for one time only for 2 weeks as a standalone course in our online university. So you can empower your team to do it directly, right away, right now. We, of course, included in our agency performance pack, which is a subscription for training. So if you want that and retention and sales and how to reduce remarketing, as well as new courses every quarter, we got you covered. But there's no sense in dilly-dallying. Let's go ahead and get to our website, agencyperformancepartners.com, where you can check out the new Apex Time Management Performance Pack. And while you're there, check out our shop. What's going to hurt? We might just have other tips and tools. But I'm here to help you solve the problem of busy, move your team to productive, all with online training that is interactive and makes a big difference when applied. So, who wants to get started? We're doing it at 20% off until the end of April 2021. So, get started, give us a call. We'd love to help you move from busy to productive.
It's so funny because accountability is a really difficult thing, right? I think people crave it, but so a lot of times in agencies we see like they want accountability for other people, right? Like she took 5 minutes longer on her lunch, or they didn't update the system right, or and then it's like, well, it can't just be accountability for everybody else. You got to put the mirror on yourself too, right? Like I love what you said about you have to hold yourself accountable. And you know what, Pam, we just see a lot of agencies so scared to hold people accountable. Why do you think that is? Like, where does that fear come, maybe as an agency owner or business owner? Like, if I hold them accountable, this might happen.
Well, I think they're afraid of losing associates. It's okay. It's all right. I've lost associates in the 23 years I've been in the industry. You know what? You have to look at it this way. You know what? They were in your path for a reason, for that period. There's going to be someone else to come in. Now, part of the problem, I think, in our industry is that we don't have enough of people that are, because our industries are unique. It's not kind of like a realtor and you're already, you get licensed on your own. I mean, literally, we have to really invest some time and money into hiring someone. And so by the time you train them, get them licensed and all that, you've got a huge investment. So I think that's what they're afraid of. They're going to lose that investment. But I have found that's okay. That's all right, because you're going to find someone else better, and it's going to get better. And I've had, I had some great people, and they went on and did something else, and I appreciate that, and I respect that, and I'm happy that I was part of their journey. but I'm on my journey and I want to get the right people in my bus, and let's just ride along the way. And if they want to stay as long and they're productive, I want them to stay. But that's the biggest challenge. I even find myself that way, where I'm kind of afraid I'm able to lose them. You know what? If it's not working out, as everybody said, even my dad, my dad always said, quick to fire. What is it? Quick to fire and take longer to hire. Is that right? Is that how it goes?
Yeah, so, it's slow to hire, quick to fire.
Fire, yeah. And we don't want to be that way, but people, you can't, this is a saying everybody says, you can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. And that sometimes we have that with some associates. Where they're part of the team, they might sit there and drink it, and then over there, they're not wanting to do. But it's okay, because there are young people out there. What was it? Somebody was telling me the other day, they were like, oh, y'all are just a bunch of dying dinosaurs. It's a bunch of old people. I said, have you been to IAOA? Have you been to some of these other things? I said, these are young people that are eager to grow in insurance because they know it is a successful business.
It's true. It's so true. And I think one of the other things too with the accountability that people have, and I see this a lot, I don't know if you've ever felt that way, but you kind of always doubt yourself, right? Or it's like, did I train them well enough? Did I give them all the tools? Am I just being too hard of a person on them? Like, you sort of have those conversations. So I'm curious, how do you reconcile with that? Because I hear that all the time, like, well, yeah, they're not performing, but we didn't do this part.
Well, yeah, this is funny. So
maybe some days are better than others.
Yeah, they are. I have really learned a lot in the past 6 months. Patience has been, something I've really have grown in the past, actually 5 years. But one thing I didn't have, you can have patience, but you have to have boundaries. So I listened to this book a friend told me about boundaries. And the first chapter I listened to, and y'all, there's a lot of boundary books out there, and I'll give it to you, Kelly. I'll have to find it so I can find the author.
Yeah.
But, the first one was about me. I swear, he interviewed me, wrote the chapter. It's all about me. I need some of the funds that, some of the whatever he gets for it. But as I continued through it and listening, I was like, I do that. Why am I letting them step over my boundary? I need to develop boundaries, not only in my personal life, but also in my business life. And once I've started to do that, it has really made an impact. And two, like if I have a situation, I take the emotion out. If I know that my horns are popping out, I feel them coming, I literally go, okay, I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to talk to, I might even be mid-sentence with an associate, and then I'll go, I got to go. I forgot I got a call coming in, because I know I might not react the way I want to at that point. It might take a couple of days to respond, but then I know that I'm going to respond appropriately and evaluate it. Did they cross those boundaries or not? I tell you, this year has been a year of growth. But I think that book was very good. Yes.
Well, I think that's a good way to put it. It's not so much what did we do, what did we not do. You can always look at yourself, but it's like, hey, we did enough and they're not doing enough, right? Like, you can't take it all on. And I loved what you said about the fear, because I see that all the time. Like, what if they leave? And I'm like, what if they stay? Like, what if they stay? And somebody once told me this great quote of, like, you pay people to make your life easier. And so if you're an agency owner and somebody's not making your life easier, then, why do you want to give them, X amount of dollars per year? And I think that's, it's a tough haul.
Well, and I also, at the same time, though, I'm sorry, sometimes we're our own monster, and they're probably sitting there. And I have found this out. It was a tough call, because I was out of the office for a while due to an illness. And when my staff had to do everything while I was gone because they couldn't talk to me or anything, because I was, I had breast cancer. So I don't want everybody to start assuming. So I'm a breast cancer survivor. So they had to do a lot of stuff and they took over. When I came back, everything was, I didn't have to quote anymore. I was a business owner. They literally, and they worked well as a fine oil machine. So, don't be afraid to delegate and let them do things, because guess what? You might have someone there that you're not utilizing that might be a gym. So you might have your boundaries, but too, at the same time, you might want to open those boundaries and let other people do things. And you might not know their expertise until you give them the opportunity.
That's very, very true. And I also think that, it's funny when tragedy like that happens, what you went through, people sort of step up and you find out, we can do things, like, I think one of the things that I learned so much from your team when we were doing like the renewal or review calls was in the beginning, everybody's kind of sitting down like this. I don't think we can do it. I don't think we can do it. But you had the wisdom to say, like, we can do it. Like, let's step up to the plate, ladies. We got this. And it's kind of funny how people always see themselves as smaller than they really are until they're forced to do something, right? Like when you're out having, dealing with breast cancer, everybody's like, well, we just got to do it. We don't want Pam to have to worry about anything here. Now you're back without breast cancer. And sometimes they're like, well, Pam can worry about it all.
Honestly,
like, how do you change that back?
I don't want it back. Honestly, when it gets to me, it's kind of like getting up to, that's when it's bad. That's when it's bad. And sometimes I'm like, I'm not in the know as much, but they're handling it. And that's so peaceful that,
right.
I can take off, I can work from home, I can go to these conferences, I can do things and be more free and do what I really want. And that's to coach my team and learn from other people like you, Kelly.
So the other member of your team, which you didn't talk about, is this lovely gentleman named Charles. And so when you're captive nationwide, it's not common for nationwide agents, because you got Charles, I think, when you were nationwide still, or were you were still nationwide.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about Charles. What does Charles do? How did you find Charles? And what does he do for the agency?
Well, Charles, he's our marketing associate, and he's a lot of fun. I tell you, we were having fun before the conference, before our podcast here. We were messing around with some of the faces you can put on there and stuff. But anyway, we have a lot of fun. But Charles does all of our marketing. So like our backdrop here, he developed that today for me. We're constantly looking at different ways, how to market. He does all of our social media. He develops our ads. He's out there trying to figure out, what type of marketing that we can do to bring, business into the agency. Pretty much, we were talking today and I said, just remember, I'm the coach, you're the cheerleader. Okay. So what I need you to do is you cheering people in here to where these people, our team, can, get them their insurance. So, and he is a hoot, but he has been really beneficial because there's, he works on our website. I bounce a lot of things off of him, and he knows, I'm trying to make insurance where it's not so serious, where it is fun. We want to look like, we want people to know that we're fun to do business with. And Charles brings that. He's got a very artsy way, very creative. He comes up with some really good stuff. Some stuff we can't use that we use in the background.
I've seen some of that stuff, yes. I used to be the tiebreaker. It's like, let's see what Kelly thinks.
It's kind of on that line. But he's taken a lot off of me from that because, really marketing, it does take a lot of time, and you have to know your SEO, keep your SEOs up, constantly changing your website, constantly, adding all that content. And it gets more and more. You literally, you have to have a person doing nothing but adding that stuff. But I would suggest having it, even if it's a part-time person. It's amazing. Now the funny part, the question is how I got Charles. He actually was the son of a friend of ours. And he came in, and I heard that he was in marketing. He graduated from University of Memphis, and he was all into Harry Potter. We're at dinner, and I'm looking at all the stuff, and I was like, oh my God, I love Harry Potter. And he came in, and he won us over. So from then on, he's been with us.
I know. He's so, for when we were on Zoom calls during like COVID, every day he'd come in with new hair color. I'm like, yes. I'm going to figure out who you are today. And I think what's really cool, I want other agents to hear this. So what I think is really cool is you made him get licensed. And a lot of people are like, oh, they're in marketing, they don't need to get licensed. But you felt really strongly like he needed to get licensed.
Yes. Well, I mean, how can you market something you don't know? I mean, you can't. You got to understand what you're going to market. I mean, I know that we're just a contract we're selling, but it's still a product. We're selling claims. And, it gives him an opportunity to figure out what we need to focus on, and he understands what we're talking about. I have him attend a lot of the training too, so he can learn what's out there, because in some of that training too, they will tell you marketing ideas. And that's something you have to learn. So he goes through a lot of the same stuff our associates do. And now, will he sell a policy? Oh no, he won't sell a policy. That's not what he's.
No, but he has pinched in on like the phones when it's busy. Like he will pinch, he will come in and be like, I'll grab the phones. Like he kind of is a jack of all trades to some degree.
Yes, and he'll even, when we do potluck, he's in there putting all the food together. And that's one thing too. You have to keep the morale. That's so important. So he'll text, he's got a credit card, and he'll call and he'll say, okay, everybody give me your order. Because he knows he can do that. Or he wants to get lunch, because I don't know, I might not be in and know what's going on, but he knows, hey, this is a day we need to, kick up the morale a bit.
Yeah, if you guys want food, you got to go to Lofton Wells. Between, you guys, I think, insure some great restaurants, have some great restaurants in the area. And then Carla on the team is just like drool work. I don't know, man. She just must put off her insurance agent hat and go right on into like banking mode. She is literally like Paula Deen. She looks like Paula Deen. She sounds like Paula Deen.
Yes, she makes some of the good stuff. I'm so glad we just came back to the office. Actually, tomorrow's the first day everybody's going to be back. And I cannot wait till Carla starts cooking again.
I know. It's like I see some of the stuff I see some of the pictures on Facebook. I'm like, man, that's like a 17-layer cake she made.
Her Butterfinger pie is amazing. You
we'll have to put that on the list next time. I have to put that on the list.
Yeah.
So I just want to be respectful of your time too, and just have one kind of final question. So obviously, you have a lot going on, and in a good way, not in a bad way, but in just like you have a plan and you're working on it. Looking looking even further ahead than just like a couple years, like what's your vision for the agency? 10 years from now, what do you see?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been working with some agents already that, we meet every week and kind of talk about things, and we're trying to work together, trying to, mirror how we all operate. And this has always been my goal. I want to have an amazing, and I'm not trying to be sexist by no means, but I would love to have a woman-owned agency. Yeah, we can have some guys in there, of course, but where we have all these strong women in there, because we're in such a male-dominant, industry, it just would be amazing. I want to have that one big woman agency with all these strong women, because there's so many of us out there that have so many great attributes. We want to bring them all together. My daughter is in the agency, and, I'm hoping eventually my other daughter will want to too. I want to have something that, that blossoms, and where there's other people in there that is big and, we're ready for all the immediate changes there, and I want to make that we're continually staying on top of the technology, continually learning, because right now, and I didn't share this with you, I mean, I have the team reading books, we have like a book club. I think it's so important that we continue that, and honestly, I'd say probably, in the next couple of years, I've kind of played around with is start coaching, who knows, I might be one of your part-timers.
Come on down.
But yeah, but because I've really been working on that and just really trying to learn, but that's where, and I want to be able to mentor other women to really get into it, because there's just so many industries out there that are limited, but insurance is it's a plethora of opportunities.
That's a great way to put it. And we obviously work with a lot of female agency owners, being one myself. And the funny thing that always comes up is like, we just lead agencies differently. And it's not like one way is right or bad or wrong, but when women run agencies, you've done every job in that agency, right? Like, you know how to process an endorsement, you know how to take a payment, you've done every job. And it's not always the case when it comes to other agencies. And so it's a whole different experience when you've been everything from the receptionist to the office cleaner to the owner of how you see things.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Well, I was used to being one of 2 women, maybe 3 out of like 28 agents, that was always, it was not unusual for me to be the only woman and with a bunch of men. Thank God my husband's very laid back, and he's just like, oh, they're just a bunch of never felt threatened. He's like, oh, they're just in.
I think if they messed with you, they'd be in for it with him. So.
No. Well, the funny part is, and I've been very privileged because, all those agents that I worked with, they were like family. So most of us are second gen. We're second gen. So it was kind of funny. It was like, oh, he's like your brother. Don't worry about it.
Well, Pam, it was great to catch up. Thanks so much for being a podcast guest. It was awesome to hear what you guys have going on down in Memphis. And for anybody out there listening, Pam's in Memphis. I'm sure she'd be happy to take a call if you had any questions about anything that she said today, or go through Charles, who has her calendar link and will help you facilitate a meeting with her. But Pam, thank you so much. And I hope you get everything that you're looking for this year.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Kelly.
Oh, my pleasure. All right. Thanks, guys.
Wow, what a podcast that was. So much energy coming from Pam and such clarity on where she wants to be and how she's doing it. And she's pretty honest, the road isn't always easy, but it's worth it. So if you're interested in learning more about how we've helped agencies just like Pam's, please give us a call. We'd love to get to know you. But until then, join us for our next podcast, which are going to be all about time management. I am actually so excited for this. I'm violating one of my own rules. I said, other than the mashup videos we do, we are only going to interview our clients to really tell the story about how they're taking control of their agencies. But we're relaunching our time management program to kind of identify with some things post-COVID that we need to, or in the middle of COVID, or whatever we're in with COVID, to be honest with you. And one of the things that came out of it was we all have these management systems, and so many of us don't use them to the fullest capabilities. So we have Angela Painter from Angela Adams Consulting that's going to tell us all about how to use AMS 360 to maximize time. Stephen Harrington, the diva of insurance from Hawksoft, he was on the Cross Insurance podcast in case you missed it. He's going to give us some time management hacks for Hawksoft. And then one of my favorite people, Sue Good from Alexan, who is also an Epic trainer. So she's going to tell us all about some top things to focus on with Epic. I really want to encourage everybody to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because when this comes out, it is going to be a video and a podcast you're going to want to listen to with your entire agency. There are so many little hacks inside these systems that get overlooked because we're so busy with the day-to-day. We don't want that for you. So watch for those 3 podcasts in the month of April, and watch as we relaunch time management, because those podcasts and some of their strategies are going to go right into that course so that you keep investing in how to save time in your agency. Thank you so much, and we'll see you or hear us on that next podcast.